Hello, I am SquidofLove. Welcome back. Space combat in Star Citizen. Fighting with your spaceship is going to be a very important part of the gameplay. So this is why it has to be fun, but also giving you the feeling of having absolute control over your spaceship, absolute freedom to perform any maneuver you like. Although mouse and keyboard is a very good way to start playing Star Citizen, start learning the ropes, after a while you will start feeling restricted and unable to reach the maximum potential of your spaceship. A great way to get to the next level and continue improving your flying and fighting skills is by start using a dual joystick setup. So today I'm gonna show you my dual joystick setup, but also how to create a similar one yourself. Before we continue though, let's take a quick look at the joysticks I am using and their characteristics. First of all, the joystick that I am using with my left hand, the Thrustmaster T16000M joystick, a very good joystick, very well known. It is a very good option if you are looking for a second joystick to use with your left hand. It is a very good option if you are looking to start setting up a dual joystick setup, and this is because it is a fully ambidextrous joystick. It can be used easily with your left or right hand. And the joystick I am using with my right hand, the Logitech Extreme 3D Pro, a very good joystick. I have been using it for more than a year. I definitely recommend if you are looking for one joystick to use with your right hand. I definitely recommend both, they are both great, and the Thrustmaster as a fully ambidextrous joystick can be used by left-handed and right-handed people. They are both very sturdy, they have a stable base and they are quite accurate. The cost for the Thrustmaster at the moment is at around $50 and the cost for the Logitech 3D is at around $40, so you can start creating your own dual joystick setup with less than $100. The Thrustmaster has 12 buttons in total, 6 on each side, a hot switch and 3 buttons around it, a trigger and of course the throttle button, the throttle switch that you can use in order to control your throttle if you want, while the Logitech 3D has 6 buttons on the left side, a hot switch plus 4 buttons around the hot switch and 2 triggers and of course the throttle switch where you can control your throttle if you want. So let's go ahead now and show you how I am using my joysticks in order to get the most out of them in combat while flying, but how you can also start creating a similar setup if you want. Before you start setting up your joysticks, it will be nice to have a general idea of what you want to achieve with each one of your joysticks. Go to the options from the main menu, find the joystick HOTAS options, and then straight to flight movement. This is the main part of the options that you want to set up properly so you can get the most out of your spaceship, have absolute control over your spaceship, and of course a lot more fun from combat in Star Citizen. Something else quite important is how your joysticks appear in the options. For example, my left joystick, the Thrustmaster, appears as joystick 1, while my Logitech appears as joystick 2. It will make it easier to remember which joystick is which one, so you can set the options properly and not waste any time. Let's take a look. This is my Logitech joystick, the one I'm using with my right hand, and I have it mostly for pitch, yaw and roll. I have pitch on the y-axis, I have yaw on the rotational z-axis, and roll on the x-axis. Of course I'm using more stuff with it, with the HUD and the switches, the buttons around the HUD, but we're gonna talk about them later. And this is my Thrustmaster, the one I'm using with my left hand, and I'm using mostly for strafing. Strafe left and right on the x-axis and strafe forward and back on my y-axis, and this is actually my acceleration deceleration. I'm not using throttle. Regarding strafe forward and back, it will always be upside down. When you pull your Thrustmaster back, it will strafe forward, and when you push it forward, it will strafe back. So what you wanna do is go to the control options, find your joystick, which in my case my left joystick is joystick HOTAS 1, and go to the inversion settings. On the flight strafe, forward backwards, change the option from no to yes, and it will work properly after that. Something else also very important, go to both of your joysticks on the dead zone options and set them all to 0. This will give you better control over your joystick, it will give you better control in game. You can also change the curves on your joysticks. This affects how sensitive your joystick is. You can set them very high, you can set them very low. 1.3 is a good start. I have my pitch and yaw at 1.4. I have roll a bit higher at 1.6. You can also edit the curves manually. You can drag these dots anywhere you like. You can remove most of these dots by clicking one of the dots and then clicking delete, and you can create a nice curve like this if you want to play with this setting. Like I said, 1.3 is a nice start. Play with the values, see what suits your playstyle the most, which sensitivity is better for you. In general, the higher the value, the less sensitive the joystick at the center and the more sensitive around the edges. Showing you how to set your options is one thing, but showing you how these options, how this setting affect your gameplay is another. So let's take a quick look on what you get with these kind of options on each joystick. Let's start with the Thrustmaster, the joystick I'm using with my left hand. Strafe up on the hot one up, strafe down on the hot one down. Very easy to strafe up and strafe down. It's not that important of a maneuver, but it is there in case you need it, and it is very easy to do it with that setting. Strafe left and right, very important, is set on the X-axis on the left joystick. It will be very easy to maneuver like this. It will be very easy to strafe when fighting and gain an advance over your opponent. And of course, the most important setting is the strafe forward and back on the Y-axis, which I use as my acceleration and deceleration. I am not using throttle, I'm using strafe forward and strafe back to adjust my speed, to go faster, to go slower, to go backwards. It is an excellent way to have absolute control over your spaceship, adjust your speed depending on what your opponent is doing, and control the fight. As for the Logitech, the joystick on my right hand, we have pitch on the Y-axis, yaw on the rotational Z-axis, and roll on the X-axis. Very easy to use, a quite easy setup to perform all of these maneuvers. There are of course more functions that you need to set on your joysticks in order to gain absolute control over your spaceship. Let's start with the Logitech. I have targeting options set on the HUD and countermeasures, missile options on the buttons around the HUD. We're gonna take a quick look on these buttons very soon. And on the left joystick, the Thrustmaster, I have decouple mode, space brake and IFCS mode shift on the buttons around the HUD. Boost is set on the trigger on the Thrustmaster, and the two triggers on the Logitech are used for firing different weapon groups. So for the Logitech, we have reticle focus on HUD 1 up, cycle friendly on HUD 1 down, target nearest hostile on HUD 1 left, and cycle hostile targets on HUD 1 right. A very easy way to target hostiles, to take a look on your friendlies, and generally decide who you want to attack next. Acquire missile lock on button 4, launch missiles on button 6, cycle countermeasures on button 3, and launch countermeasures on button 5. So you can see that I have actions that connect with each other on the same column of the buttons around the HUD switch, so it is easier for me to know what I'm doing at any moment. On to the Thrustmaster now. We have decouple mode on button 3, space brake on button 4, IFCS mode shift on button 2, and boost set on the trigger 1, on the trigger in front of the joystick. A very easy way to use all of these commands without having to look on your keyboard. They are all of the commands on your thumbs, on the joysticks, on the HUD switches, and the buttons around these HUD switches. Like I said, I don't use throttle when I'm flying with this dual joystick setup. I'm using strafe forward and strafe back in order to accelerate or decelerate. I have better control over my spaceship like this. I prefer than use throttle, but it is good to have throttle assigned to certain button because it can be useful in certain situations, in one only situation that is. I have two throttle options set, throttle to maximum and throttle to 0, and these are set on the HUD on the left joystick on the Thrustmaster. So we have throttle maximum on the HUD 1 right and throttle 0 on the hard one left on the Thrustmaster. When to use this option? When I'm in the persistent universe and want to travel a long distance, instead of keeping my hand on the left joystick on the Thrustmaster, pressing it forward so I can accelerate, all I have to do is set throttle to maximum and take my hand off the joystick. In that way my spaceship will continue flying, will continue traveling, and I have some seconds to rest my hand or do something else on the keyboard. This is a very good way to use throttle. You can very easily set it to maximum, you can very easily set it to 0 in case you need to fight, in case of something happening and you need to have absolute control over your spaceship. This is when I only use throttle when I have to travel a long distance, and it is very easy to set it to maximum or to 0 like we have seen, and it is also very easy to change our speed mode from cruise to SCM and vice versa, since we have button 2 assigned to IFCS mode shift. A great way to travel, relax for a bit, rest your hand, and then go into combat having absolute control. There are of course more commands that you can assign on your joysticks, and with 18 buttons in total on both of your joysticks, you're not gonna run out of buttons to assign commands to. You can assign simple commands like exit the spaceship, eject, self-destruct, landing mode, quantum jump, on any button you like, on any button feels better to use, easier to use for you. But there is also another way, another better way to use more commands with this dual joystick setup, and this is by using voice attack. A great program, a great software that allows you to command your spaceship with your voice. You can increase the power of your shields, you can take a look on your weapons, your power, and in general you can do a lot more stuff with voice attack, and here is a quick example. Front, back, left, right, normal, weapons, power, shields, overview, jump, go. You can use some existing profiles that you can find on the forums, some very helpful one, or you can create your own simple commands. Voice attack is a very helpful program and can complement perfectly this dual joystick setup. By using two joysticks you have a lot more control over your spaceship, it is a lot more responsive, and gameplay is a lot more fun. It is a lot more fun fighting, flying and fighting like this, going back to mouse and keyboard after getting used at this dual joystick setup. It feels kind of restrictive, it feels like someone is pulling me back, it's not letting me use my full potential. With two joysticks you can use pitch, roll, yaw and strafing effectively and at the same time. This is gonna give you a very good advantage over your opponents. It will make you a better fighter, it will increase your skills in flying, but also fighting with your spaceships in Star Citizen. Of course, it will not be easy to get used at it if you are coming from mouse and keyboard and have no experience with a joystick before, but it is worth spending time to get used at it, and in the end you will have a lot more fun in the game and you will be a lot more effective. This was my dual joystick setup and how you can create a similar one. I hope this video will help you create your own dual joystick setup, but also have a lot more fun in Star Citizen. Thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more. I am SquidofLove and I will see you next time. Bye bye.